Welcome to
Tamarindo Podcast.
Hosted by me, Brenda Gonzalez, a political nerd and nonprofit capacity builder.
And me, Ana Sheila Victorino, a queer well-being enthusiast and mindset coach. We are a Latinx empowerment podcast discussing politics, culture, and how to keep your calma with well-being practices and self-love.
Welcome to the show.
Woo!
Welcome everybody to Tamarindo. Ana Sheila, how are you? ¿Cómo estás? Good to see you again aquí en el Zoom.
What's up, y'all? Pues ando medio enfermita. I've just been doing all the things, so it's finally catching up to me. But I'm excited because today we're talking to Dominican comedian, actress, and writer Sasha Merci. You can catch her on the Mitú podcast, 3Gs in a Pod. You can catch her in the movie Righteous Thieves. And if you're in LA, you can catch her at a comedy venue near you. So I'm excited to get to that conversation. But before that, Brenda, ¿qué pasa contigo?
Well, I've been missing you because I know you've been traveling and out in Mexico. We probably haven't seen each other in a few weeks, but I've just been really busy. Work is crazy. One of the things that I get to work on is a fantastic summit that's happening next week. So I can't wait to get over that hump, but it's a great gathering of leaders in LA that are focused on immigrant inclusion and making sure that there's policies that are inclusive of immigrants that make such an integral part of Los Angeles. And so big shout out to them while it's still Immigrant Heritage Month. And it includes hearing from Dr. Manuel Pastor, who is one of my favorite guests that we've had on this show. Maybe we'll re-release our episode with him this summer. So that's what's up with me. And tell me, Ana Sheila, how was Mexico? I know it was great to recharge. And you're there for a summit for Sonoro, but also special time with family. So tell us a little bit about that.
CC, well, that's why I'm feeling sick, because I've been doing all the things, y'all. And but Mexico was beautiful. It was if for y'all that don't know, I'm from Mexico City and I got to live there for the last 2 years, but I moved back to LA a few months ago. And so this is kind of like my return trip. And I've been so focused in LA on just setting roots and really feeling grounded here. And so I didn't expect to miss Mexico City so much, but as soon as I touched down, it's like I felt I was home. And I think that I kind of feel like I'm geo-amorous. I'm making that up.
I like that.
In the sense
I'm definitely binational for sure, but I like that. I like that one.
LA has my heart, right? And that's why I came back. And you know, this is where I wanted to continue focusing on projects. Pero Mexico City, I mean, it has my soul, tiene mi alma. And it has my ancestors. And so as soon as I touched down, it's kind of like I felt this como abrazo from my family. I got to be there for my family that's alive, but also my loved ones that have passed. You know, my dad passed away, and it was special because I got to be, you know, where he's from on Father's Day. So even though I couldn't be with him physically, it felt like I was con su espíritu. So it was very special to be in Mexico City for these days. And yeah, it felt immediately like home. And I feel really grateful because I got to see my family who now have become friends. They used to be strangers, you know, because when you live out in the US, like you see your family like every few years and they feel like you kind of know them, but it's so special when you actually build really close bonds with them. So I was grateful to see them again. And then the other thing I just wanted to offer up is it's beautiful when I get to speak Spanish, because one of the things I realized about the time I lived in Mexico is that I had lost as the better that my Spanish got, the closer that I felt to myself. And I feel like there was a part of me that I hadn't been able to access because I had lost some of my Spanish. So the more comfortable that I got to speak in Spanish, when I actually started thinking in Spanish, I felt like it was a fuller version of myself. And so I'm so grateful for that. And that's why I speak Spanglish way more, because I feel like I'm just like me in a way that I wasn't able to access before. So all those things were just really beautiful. So I'm grateful for my time there. But now I'm like sick because I've been doing all the things. But aquí estamos.
Yeah, speaking of doing all the things, I know you're going to be doing your debut of a performance, live storytelling event that's happening on June 29th in Boyle Heights. Tell us just a little bit more about that, because I know that's right around the corner and a chance for folks to see you in the flesh if they're here in LA.
Yes, I'm performing my first story on a stage. I'm really excited. The theme is Mouthful. I'm doing it with ensemble called Studio Luna. They have a beautiful small space in Boyle Heights, and every month they host these beautiful storytelling events. So I'm telling a little story around the theme Mouthful. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to do something that scares me but excites me. So if y'all are in LA, check that out. Thursday, June 29th, 7 p.m. at Studio Luna in Boyle Heights. ¿Y qué más? We have another event. Brenda,
yeah, just want a quick plug. So even though we're about to enter summer break, we've got some fun activities cooking. So just real quick, y'all can go to Tamarindo Podcast /event to get information, /events to get information about all the things we've got going on. But I want to tell you about Money Chisme, and this is going to be a fun and interactive conversation all about how we can earn more money and keep more of it for the things that we want to do. It's going to feature our favorite money coach, Charly, who is a formerly undocumented digital nomad, helping first-gen clients embody their millionaire selves. And y'all can listen to more of Charly's work on their podcast called unicornmillionaire.com, where you'll hear me confess some of my money mishaps, like tapping into my 401k to follow my dreams. So maybe how to calm down and reel it back. So y'all will save the date for that. It's going to be on July 20th, 7 o'clock at the Pop-Up in Highland Park. Again, the details are at Tamarindo Podcast tamarindopodcast.com /events. That's a little bit hard to say. All right, so I'm not going to delay our fantastic interview. Ana Sheila, want to tell us a little bit more about who we got, or what do you got?
Yeah, so we are talking to Sasha Merci, and we're going to talk about all the things including what it's like living somewhere where you don't have representation, aka she's a Dominican living in LA and there's like 10 other Dominicans. So we talk about that. We talk about creating community, and we talk about redefining success as we get older. It's a fun, beautiful, funny conversation. So we hope y'all enjoy it. Let's get to it.
I love creating beautiful experiences. I get to do that on Tamarindo, but I also get to do that as an Airbnb superhost. We chose to Airbnb our family home because it's allowed us the flexibility to host when we want, but also stay connected to a place that means a lot to us. Because we Airbnb our family home, we have a little extra cash to cover our bills while still having a place that can bring us together when we're all in town. My family loves making memories, so we also love that we're able to offer our home for other families and friends to make their own and have a home away from home. And Airbnb continues to make it easier to host and get started with their extra support, tips, recommendations, and community. Maybe you have a vacation plan for the summer. When you're away, your home could be an Airbnb. Want to spend a few months trying a new city? Airbnb-ing your home can also help make that a reality. So whether you could use a little extra money to cover some bills, want to have more flexibility with your home, or something else, your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much at airbnb.com/host.
What's up, y'all? So excited to have Sasha Merci on Tamarindo. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I know it took a minute, but we're here right now, so I'm excited.
It took a minute to get her on the show, y'all. And she's one of my favorite comedians. Like I really have been following you for years. So it was so cool to get to meet you a few months back and be like, you have to be on Tamarindo. And here we are.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited.
Awesome. Okay, so you do all the things. You're a multi-hyphenate, like many folks in LA. You're a comedian, actress, singer. No sé qué más. You're probably writing a book like everybody else too. A children's book. What's the name of your children's book? I know you're working on one.
Are you serious right now? It's called The Fear Monster. Like, no.
Shut up. No, wait. Is that a joke? Because it could.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke. But I literally kind of was faced with my fears, and I'm like, oh my God, I just feel like this would be like a good children's book called The Fear Monster, where you're creating your own fears, and without you knowing, you're creating your own limitations for when you become an adult.
Oh my God, that is genius. The Fear Monster. I'm gonna check in with you in 1 year, and if you haven't used it, I'm gonna take that title for my children's book.
Yeah, right. So I was
honestly, I feel like a lot of children's books would be really good for adults to reread, because some of those lessons in there we have to be reminded of still.
Yeah. I do completely agree. Yes. Like The Giving Tree was one of them. That was like,
yes,
about the tree that kept giving, and yeah. So I forgot the whole story, but the tree that kept giving.
The Giving Tree, y'all, look it up.
Yeah.
Reread it.
Right.
Okay, so normally we leave these questions for the end, but I'm gonna actually start off with these questions with you, just so people can get a flavor for, what you're into, what you put in the trash. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you our fun rapid fire questions, which are our matraca, our basura, and our calma. So matraca is something that you are loving, that you want to give a shout out to. It could be person, place, concept, thing. It doesn't have to be serious at all. your basura is like what you want to put on the basura. We used to say chancla, but we're trying to move away from encouraging.
Right.
And then lastly, what's giving you calma? So what is helping you stay grounded through this crazy thing we call life? So however I said them all, so you can choose wherever you want to start.
Okay, so matraca, I think, man, Greece. I'm still thinking about the trip that I took to Greece and how beautiful it was, and seeing the sunset and just having a moment where it almost feels like it's not real life because it's just so beautiful. Santorini was just gorgeous. You felt like you're in a painting. So that's my matraca. My basura is social media right now. Like I cannot stand social media. Like I can't stand what it is today. I did a video that has like millions of views right now. And I'm talking about like, oh, when I use my white voice, I get things done or something like that, something to that extent. But what I was trying to say is like, why do I have to sound that ridiculous to get some sort of respect or whatever? And I think that everyone on social media, one bad comment, somebody reads it and then they go, actually, this person's right. And then it just becomes a spiral of like, just these negative comments when they don't even know me. They don't even know my humor, what my stance on, like they really thought that what I was saying is being white is better. But I'm like, no, like I have to sound this ridiculous to like get some sort of respect, right? And I've also worked in the hospitality business, and I know for a fact that if someone were to speak to me a certain way, I was told by my obviously by my managers and stuff like that, like give them whatever they want, right?
Yeah.
But and usually those people were white or they sounded white, that's coming from a hospitality industry or whatever. But that's basura. Basura is the internet right now, and all the negativity that's on there.
Oh,
and
man.
What's keeping me grounded right now is love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like loving what I do, loving my partner, loving my friends, loving my family, Yes. And I think that's the thing that's la calma right now for me.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, what more is there than being loved and being loved, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and understanding that from the core,
From the core, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. And that's the thing in life, is just like, we grow up, we become adults, and we're riddled with anxiety. We're like constantly trying to keep things from falling apart, and then feeling like the world is going to end, right?
Yeah. Versus
just kind of being like, what are the things that are really important? And it's a lesson that we always keep learning. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's a fact,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we keep coming back to that. And I think what you just shared really resonates with me, because I feel like I've arrived at that question. It's like, life is gonna life. There's gonna be suffering, there's gonna be struggles, but what has made this journey as beautiful it can be? And it's always been when I was just grounded in love and in being loved. And so thank you for sharing that. And then going back to your basura, I saw the video and I thought it was hilarious, and I totally got it. And I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. And it's just interesting how people, will go into their little spiral of what they think you meant, and like, and like reading into it too much. And it's like, you have to, like, ultimately, like, this is comedy también, and it's like, y'all are reading way too much into this. And I thought it was hilarious, and I totally resonated with it.
Thank you.
Yes. I shared it on my story this morning as I was like, preparing to talk to you. I was like, looking at some of your content, because I really have been a fan of your comedy for years. Like, I've been following you for years. So it's cool to have this come full circle. And but I literally was thinking about what you shared in that clip the other day, because I had some friends that are not white kind of come at me with like words that felt very white to me. And I'm like, oh, my feelings are kind of hurt that you would like use the word bandwidth on me, or like some other shit that I was like, dang, I thought we were tight. Like, why are you talking to me about how you have
And the thing is, like, I completely understand what people are saying there. They're saying like, oh, it's not white, it's just proper English. But it's like, okay, it's proper English, it's not white. Last time I checked, the colonizers was white and they were speaking the English. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I understand the concept that people are saying, that it was just like, oh, it's just proper English. And when you come from a place where I came from, I'm from the Bronx, right? And when I think about my education, I think about who has access to what and who has access to this, or learning certain things. I did not have access to certain languages, the certain speech. Yes, I know English, but my English teacher wasn't, I wasn't being taught the same thing as someone who came from a privileged background, who does know how to use their words a certain way. We were just taught to learn English just to communicate, but there's other ways that people with privilege are taught and how to use their words to actually be able to get what they want, or, be understood in a certain way. And the people with that privilege don't look like me.
Are not,
they don't look like me, which I'm very happy to see that the newer generation, the younger generation, has more access than I did. But I'm speaking from my reality. And I think that a lot of the times in, what's happening with social media, or what's happening, period, it's like, when you are trying to be an entertainer, they immediately equate you to almost being a politician. Like, I did not want to be a politician. Like, my job is not for you to look up to me. My job is for you to relate to me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're supposed to be relating. We're supposed to be in a place where maybe I don't relate to you, but I relate to millions of others of people that actually understood what I was saying. And instead of being closed-minded or saying something like, oh, you deserve, like, I got this DM from this like person who's probably not their real page, but they're like, oh, you are an embarrassment. And it's just kind of like, look at this. I should have wrote back but like, you are, because guy goes, he was like, why do you look like, he goes, why do you look like you live in your mom's basement and put cigarettes out in your arm? I'm also, my white boys worked on your mom. Like, some stupid shit like that. Oh, wait. This is it. It says, I like your white voice. Sounds nice and clear. Sounds educated as well. Don't be racist and record yourself being a dipshit. You're a fucking embarrassment. Get your shit together, right?
Wow, classy.
Right. And I should have been like, you're, look.
You should have just responded with that.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's always those people, and
it's also,
and I feel like go ahead, perdón.
no, it's just also like, people would just have this thing where they have this self-righteousness where they feel like, this is the way that things should be, this is the right way, and this is the only way, and the way she's doing it is horrible. And it's just like, I'm gonna be wrong to somebody.
I mean, but because you're what you are presenting, you are performing, like, with your experience and your spin on things. And ultimately, I feel like even with that clip, it's like people chose to maybe analyze it the way they did, but like, you meant it in a certain way, and some people are gonna get it, and some people are not. Some people are not gonna see like that there's like this deep commentary behind that clip, really understanding like what you just shared with us. But you can't do that it wouldn't be comedy if you're like, and let me give you the context of like where I'm coming from with this, and like what it actually speaks to about access and privilege, and how people get to use a certain tone, and not everybody can use that, right? Like, and it also, like, even like, some of us can, right? Because we were put in the environments that taught us how to use those words and code switch and whatever, and we learned that. Right. Mm-hmm. And not everybody gets that.
Not everybody gets that. Exactly. So that's why I said social media, basura. Because now it's not a place for us to connect. It's a place for us to dump our shit.
All right. So you're Dominican from the Bronx, living in LA. I don't know how long you lived in LA at this point, but I know several years, right? And that's
like 5 years.
5 years. Okay, so a minute. Okay. So as of the 2020 census, and it's probably changed now, but there was like 3,600 Dominicans in LA, which accounts for 0.01% of LA's population, right?
Yeah.
So, but so I'm curious, what's been your experience living in a city? Because, you know, I think a lot of people speak about being Latinos and places that are predominantly white. But what is it like living in a city like LA that has a large Spanish-speaking population,
So I remember moving out here and having an identity crisis.
Yeah.
Because people would look at me, and obviously, like, I'm Black, right? But it's just, I already know, like, I'm Dominican. So being in New York City, I didn't have an identity crisis. People would look at me and go, "Oh my God, like, you Dominican or Puerto Rican?" Or like, they understand that diaspora of like the Caribbean and how mixed we all are in the Caribbean. And here it was just, when I would speak Spanish, people just get so surprised because of my hair, how curly it is, or they just will look at me like I have 3 heads and go, "Where did you learn?" And to me, I'm like, wow, that's so interesting, because we in Dominican Republic, when I was raised there till like I was 6, 7, I think, 6. And everything we would watch on television is Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Like mostly like Marimar, like Telemundo, La Telenovela, all of the stuff, like it would be like these Mexican telenovelas, even maybe Portuguese telenovelas. And then, you know, we have our local channels of our local celebrities, right? And then, you know, you have like bachata and all this stuff. And the fact that people out here consume that and still don't know what a Dominican is kind of interesting to me. It's kind of baffling. It's kind of like, wait, you enjoy bachata, but you don't know what a Dominican is? And then, or it's like, oh, you watch baseball and you know a Big Papi, but you still don't know what a Dominican is. So it's just interesting, you know? But out here, I always felt like I just needed to make a space for myself. I remember meeting someone one time and he said, you know, LA with the wrong people is hell. LA with the right people is heaven. And ever since that, I always felt like I had to make a space for me instead of just going home. And I'm that type of person that I'm just kind of like, oh, if I don't see anything happening, or if I don't see, like if I don't see a market or whatever, I don't even want to call it market, but I was just like, I don't see anyone throwing parties or like bringing people together out here, like how it is in the East Coast, right? So every day I would go out in New York City, there is a club open, a bar open, something that is bringing the community together. And it's Dominican music, dembow, merengue, bachata, salsa, like all that stuff. So it's always vibrant. And the thing about New York City is that you'll never be bored because there's always something to do, right? So I wanted to bring that out here. And so I started doing a teteo. And when I started doing a teteo, I started to realize the amount of Dominicans that live out here and are just supporting and being so supportive. And I was just very grateful for that. Like very, 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 very grateful for that. And my goal is just to make it more Dominican out here so I don't have to go back and forth, you know, as often. And so, you know, you have there's other parties now. I feel like that was first, and then you have Capicua, who's doing their thing right now. And other Dominican parties, other Dominican influence parties are starting to happen now. And I'm very excited about that, because for a population that is 0.01%, we're going to be the loudest.
Yeah,
we're
always.
making so much noise. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
It's beautiful. And I mean, I think that ultimately diversity in any city makes a city better. Right. Yeah. And for me as a Mexican, there was a period of time I lived in Chicago, and that was wonderful because it was like, it felt very equal, at least in my community, very equal Mexican and Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And I was really grateful for that growing up, but I haven't had that since I lived in California. So for me, it's like, I want more folks. I mean, I think that there's still like a thread that sort of makes us feel a little bit closer when you with other Latinos, when you do share the language, when you do share that most of us were colonized. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's things that we in our love for all of our music, right? I love Dominican music. I feel like a lot of Dominicans also really appreciate a lot of Mexican music as well.
Absolutely.
And like you said, you've been watching Mexican telenovelas your whole life. So I feel like there is this thread that connects us, and we just get to learn more about each other. So for me, like, if there's a campaign to keep bringing more Caribbeans to LA, like, I am at the front line, like, whatever, like I'm on that part of that campaign. And we've had so many Dominican voices on the show, and I've been going to Capicua and El Teteo and all the things, because I just appreciate the Caribbean culture so much. And I think it makes, like I said, I think it makes the city better. It makes me better. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. What I realized in Los Angeles, what it felt like, it was like going into a time machine. It was like going back to the past, like 10 years back. Like, I feel like not only are they 3 hours behind, but they're also socially behind in so many ways. Because it's like in New York City, everybody, you have like your little hoods, right, where it's predominantly a certain nationality, like, but you could be Black and grow up in Washington Heights, and you're gonna feel just as Dominican or whatever. You could be Mexican and grow up in Washington Heights. You could be Puerto Rican and grow up in Washington Heights. You could be anything. And the thing about New York is that you are an influence of every single culture. Like, you have access to Indian food, you have access to Greek food, you have access to so many different nationalities, so many different cultures, that in New York City you become a little bit of all these nationalities and of everything, and you have a better understanding of accepting others for who they are, and giving people grace and being more graceful, right? Out here, or places like Los Angeles, where it's funny because this is where Hollywood is, and this is where they constantly project, or they're constantly making movies or making projects. And this city is like so secluded in a lot of ways. Like, this area is nothing but Black, this area is nothing but white, this area is nothing but Mexican, you know? And I just, find it interesting. It's harder for people out here, and I think it's geographical as well, where it's harder for them to come together.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was actually reflecting on this, because like, I feel like LA is so diverse, but yet like what you're speaking to, like, there is truth in that like, I think it's because in New York, it's so dense and everybody's just like so close together that it just happens, right? But in LA, like, you get in your car to go anywhere. So even though it is so diverse, you get in your car and you're going to your destination, and that's it. You're not interacting with other people that don't look like you, unless you are actively seeking that out, and you have to be seeking that out. Pero si no, it's not going to happen.
Right. You have to actively seek it out. And that's one of the reasons why I want to throw these parties, right? Where it's just like the introduction to the Dominican culture, but also the East Coast culture, and kind of like, let's bring everybody together. Let's all be, it sounds cliche, but let's all be one, like, let's all, so, but that's how I grew up, that's exactly how I grew up. So when I see a lot of, not animosity, but when I see people kind of being like, oh no, I can't, this is only for this, and these are only for these people, and these are only for that people. I'm like, for real? Like, out here, y'all never thought about just bringing things together? And then once you say that, they go, oh my God, my mind is blown.
Right.
And it becomes like innovative. And it was just like, this is how I grew up,
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think what's beautiful is still centering. It's always, let's center communities that don't get centered. So what I love about El Teteo, about Capicua, let's center communities that aren't as centered in LA, because it's just not that big, but it's just beautiful that it's centering Dominican and Caribbean culture, but other folks can still come, and like, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very, So That's what I love about it.
Well, y'all are throwing amazing parties.
Thank you.
And I've been going.
yeah, and you know, like I kind of been focusing on that more because I feel like I'm doing more of, I feel like I can see the change more, or I can see the progress more by being hands-on and doing these parties and seeing it happen. And my goal is to start attaching like a charity to these parties, because your $20 is going to go somewhere to, I'm not sure if it's going to be for the Bronx or Dominican Republic, but in a way where even though this party, you're giving back some way, somehow, with your joy, or just being able to, you know, be present, be around people. And at the same time, your money is going to be helping someone who needs help, you know?
I love that.
Through joy.
Let us do things with an energy of reciprocity. Like, what are you like?
And that's where I'm at right now. Cause it's just, that's the thing. It's like, we're living in a place where we're living in a time where people are just talking, self-righteous. She shouldn't say this, she shouldn't say that. And these people are doing absolutely nothing but sitting on their phone and just talking crap. And, you know, that's why what I like about El Teteo, like I'm seeing it happen in actual time and being around people and seeing that it's bringing them joy, especially during these times that are so hard, you know?
Yeah, beautiful. Well, coming back a little bit to comedy, I know you do several things now, community building, all the things, but what brought you, like, how did we've had other comedians on the show. We've had Marcela, we've had Aida Rodriguez, Ian Lara. So I feel we love comedians. We love to laugh. We love to have y'all on the show. But I'm curious, what brought you to comedy, and what does comedy mean to you?
I mean, I feel like comedy is a way for me to heal, right?
Yeah.
I come from a space of a loving family, but I'm an affair child. So both my parents were in a relationship. You know, my mom was married. My dad had a life partner that he had a family with. And all of a sudden, boom, this baby comes out and my mom passes away when I'm 3 months. So now I'm living this reality of not really fitting in anywhere, even though my family loves me, but it also feeling like there's no place for me, you know? And the thing that I love about both sides of my family is my dad's side, they're funny in the way they say things, right? And they were like, oh, you know, it's always like the delivery of it, like, oh, yeah, you know, like very Dominican, very campesino, very like. And then my mom's side, they're more about what you're like, the punchline. And so I was able to grow with those two types of humor. And, you know, when you're a child and you're dealing with a certain amount of pain, trauma, and all this stuff, you kind of want to be what everybody wants you to be. So I learned how to like just be, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna be funny. And so I learned how to become funny, but naturally my family is also funny. So like I would just like listen to them and I would just be like, oh, this is funny. So that's where that's from. And even like we're funny in a way where we don't even want to be funny. Like we're just naturally like that. So for example, and I remember when I was filming in Dominican Republic and somebody was like, how do you guys roast in Dominican Republic? And I'm like, that's just in our speech. We're so sarcastic in the way that we speak that is the baseline.
Yeah, like roasting is like natural.
It's the baseline. So for example, like I was very, very skinny and they would call me a flaca en clincla, right? Y mira esa flaca en clincla, right? And so flaca is obviously skinny, but clincla is the sound that bones make in a bag. Clincla, clincla. So you know what I mean? So mira la flaca en clincla que está ahí, you know? So that's hilarious, right? And
that's
so
hilarious.
Yeah, and that's just how it is being Dominican. And like for example, there was this video that went viral, and this is in Dominican Republic. This guy's driving by and he sees this car is on fire. Like he just sees the car on fire, and he goes, ¿qué pasó ahí? Esto es un accidente. And then the cop goes, no, es un barbecue. animal, like he's like, no. He's like,
It's a barbecue.
He's like, no, it's a barbecue. Of course it is, you animal. Like, So that's just what it is. I just feel like on top of that, being around women that are so funny, women in my family are hilarious, but they never thought to pick up a mic. So that's really how that became my journey.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Your skinny nickname I relate to that because they used to call me El Trapo because un palito with my curly hair. I was El Trapo. It's funny now. I laugh at all my nicknames now, but
at first it's just like, why you hurting me like this?
El Trapo, but you know what? It's real. El Trapo, I kind of did look like un trapo.
Yeah. I was like, okay, it's like I'm so skinny. I get it. But
I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. And so comedy was also it's in your, it feels like it sounds like it's in your blood, but you were able to like make it into a career. And it's also like, I think for a lot of folks, it's also been very healing for you as well.
Yeah, it's been. And I think that I'm going through a space right now in my life where I'm going through a transition of like the things that I thought were funny before are not the same, or, or finding new things funny. And I am taking a step back from like a lot of stuff. I'm taking a step back with like social media and all these things because people want you to be on all the time. And I think I'm in a place where I'm just like, yo, I'm tired of being for others. I've been doing this since I was a kid, where I never had a moment to kind of really reflect and be like, yo, what does Sasha want? Like, do I just want to be, do I just want to be where everybody wants me to be? Or do I take the time to really be like, okay, who am I? And I think that that's the next journey of like my art and where that's gonna go when it comes to my stand-up, when it comes to what I'm writing, when it comes to the things that I'm gonna create. Because, I'm funny, but I'm a very deep bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I be reflecting and all this stuff. So
I be reflecting
and stuff. I'm introspective and shit. So yeah. But that's how I was able to be where I am right now. And I'm very grateful for the journey though.
So I'm curious, you've got this movie out. You've been on your grind for a bit. It sounds like you're doing a lot of reflecting. What on like where you go next? What do you feel like, what's a lesson maybe that you're focusing on? Like what's made the biggest impact on where you are now? And how do you see success now? Like, has your relationship to success changed?
Absolutely. My relationship with success is completely different from what I thought it was before. Like, I was just thinking about, having the hit show or having a hit this and having a hit that. But I'm not saying that I'm not welcoming it, because it'd be great, right? But there's so much responsibility when it comes to your image and how you represent yourself, and that's just so much pressure, and the idea of what it is to be famous, or what it is to be famous is not what I thought it was, like, even though, people see me as a public figure, a lot of people know who I am, and that is great. And I love that. There's also a lot of demand, like that sometimes when I am emotionally on E, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I can't even show up for me right now. How am I going to show up for you? So for me, everything that I'm doing and working on right now is my internal happiness.
Yeah.
Like just being internally happy. And I know that I'm going to be successful in everything that I do. But I think that when you put so much validation outside of yourself, it's such a dangerous thing, because then you start to spiral because things didn't work out the way you wanted, or things didn't do this and things didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And you just become this person, you become a victim to your own hype. You know what I mean? Like you believe your own hype. And part of the journey of self and internal validation is just knowing who you are at your core, connecting yourself spiritually. And if something becomes super successful, that's a great thing. Celebrate it and be in it. But if something doesn't work, well, then it doesn't work. It's not, you shouldn't attach that to your image. You shouldn't attach that to yourself, to your validation, because that's life, that's life. I remember someone, I met some guy who, I guess he came out here to become a writer. I didn't know him that well, but he was a writer, he did comedy, he did all this stuff. And then there was just like this glimpse, this moment where what he wrote was going to become, what he was part of writing was going to become a project that people were gonna take to TV and stuff like that. And they completely axed him out. And he killed himself. Because that's the danger of like external validation. And it's hard, right? Because you're living in a time where the likes and the follows and the likes and the follows, and that determines how much money you make, and that determines how you're going to live your life. You know what I'm saying? So just being able to center yourself and be in a place where I'm like, doesn't matter what it is, as long as I'm internally happy and I am an entertainer and I know that I'm going to make my money as an entertainer, and I'm going to be a great comedian, I'm going to be a great actor, I'm going to do all these things. I just also have to know that if I do, it's because I love it, and that I shouldn't attach the outcome to my success or to my validation,
Right. Like everything needs to come from within, right? It
Yeah.
sounds so cheesy. But like,
Yeah.
there's, that's it.
Yeah. And that was another thing too, that I felt like I got to a place in my career, I wasn't really thinking about other people. Like, I'm doing everything on my phone. So as I'm doing things on my phone, I'm looking at likes and all this stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know how real that is. I'm like, okay. And then I get stopped. I think that I lost that a little bit, because then I became a caricature of who I was. And I didn't like that. I don't like that either. And I'm not the type of person that's just like, okay, come on, monkey, let's dance. I'd be like, I can't do that right now,
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
So I struggle with that too.
Yeah.
I struggle with that stuff. So maybe that doesn't make me the best, doesn't make me as castable as I should be or whatever. But everything that I do, I just want it to be authentic, and I want it to be real, and I want it to come from a real place,
Yeah. I mean, what I feel like I hear is that success to you now is how coming back to yourself and how aligned is what you're doing and how you're being to who you truly are.
Right. Because there's so many people that become successful and then they hate themselves.
Right.
And
they become quote unquote successful, right? Because they've lost themselves. So how,
and I don't want that. Like my success is balance. Like a great love life, great family, great career, great friends. Like I don't need to be like such a polarizing figure. I don't have to be so fake. I just want to be able to do what I love for a living, get paid to do it. And I, want to have a family. I want to pour into my partner. I want to pour into my family. I want to pour into my friends, like I just want to have a full life. And that to me is success, to have a full life.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I just want to give you an opportunity, if there's any last message that you want to share with folks, whether it's just, where people can find you, follow you, what you got coming up, but any last thing you want to share with the audience?
Well, what I would like to share is if you're in Los Angeles and you have not come out to any of the teteo parties, I think you should come out. I think you should have a great time. It's going to be amazing. And follow me on social media. It's the same name in every platform. It's Sasha Merci. So it's at SASHA MERCI. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Nos vemos en el teteo.
Yeah. See you soon.
All right, that was a great conversation. So y'all, I hope that you enjoyed that. Please share this episode with a friend. Please write us an Apple Podcast review. We make very little money on this podcast, but when we get a nice love note from you, it truly powers us for like 3 or 4 episodes more. So if you want more of this fantastic show in your ears, then please write us that note. It really means so much to us. So until next time, ponte un suéter.
Abrazos, besos. Ciao.